Hey guys, my name is Lindsay, and my video today is going to be about why you may need to stop thinking ahead to get out of your head. And this is a very personal topic to me, something that I have dealt with quite a bit. So let's get right into it, and here we go. So I just would like to start with a disclaimer saying that this topic is not going to apply to everyone. There are a lot of people out there who could really benefit from a higher level of planning and goal setting in order for them to achieve certain things in their life, to overcome hurdles. And if you're one of those people that could use a little bit more planning, a little bit more structure, this video may kind of show you how to do that. But who I'm really speaking to in this video are people thinking so much about the next thing that's going to happen that they are unable to see anything that's really happening around them in the present moment, or really enjoy anything that's happening in the present moment. So let me tell you a little bit about what it's like to be inside of my head. So I am always anticipating the next thing that's coming, the thing after that that's coming, and every other little thing that's in between there that may be approaching on the horizon. They could be goals, projects, events, or ideas that have some sort of deadline made by myself or made by someone else, but they are endpoints to each thing. So what I'm constantly doing is filling in the gaps of the things that need to happen to achieve that certain thing a certain way at that point in the future. Now, a pro to this is that I have an overwhelming amount of confidence when it comes to the moment that thing actually shakes down or has to happen or, gets turned on. Whatever it is, when that moment comes, I have complete confidence because I've thought of every little thing that needs to go into it in order for it to run in a perfect manner, or in order for it to run as smoothly and without any surprises, because I do not like surprises. But let's talk about what I sacrifice on the way there. Let's say it's Monday and I have a semi-significant thing that's coming up on Saturday that needs some decent thought and some decent planning behind it. When I have that goal in mind, my brain starts to think about all the necessary elements that need to come into place in a certain way in order to pull it off and make it great. So my brain just starts to block out my time in order for it to have the most efficient usage in different areas in order to get to that goal. For example, on Tuesday, I should be doing blank as a preparatory stage. On Wednesday and Thursday, I should probably be going over blank items just in case blank happens. And I should probably also do blank so that I have a backup plan just in case that doesn't work. On Thursday, I should probably review blank and also go over my backup plan again and probably get 6 hours of rest because the mind needs sleep. Friday, I definitely need 8 hours of sleep because my brain needs to be fully charged and I won't be getting the same amount of sleep that night. So I definitely need to squeeze it in there. Did I eat breakfast today? Why is my left leg asleep? I also need to spend that time on Friday marinating on everything to make sure I have the full flow kind of in my head so that it's ready to go for the next day. No, I can't hang out with you. So now expand that process along with multiple different defined goal points in the future, all having similar processes, shorter, sometimes longer, all depending on what they require to get to that end thing. Welcome to my world. It's a little crazy in here. Yes, working in this kind of mindset, which is default, does lead to a high amount of perfection, and a lot of things work out really well most of the time. There are no surprises, just a perfectly executed process and flow. It's my personal heaven. I love it when there's no hiccups and everything just runs 100% smoothly. The idea comes to its full fruition and it's just exactly the way I envisioned it. So why can this sometimes be the worst thing ever? Not ever, but why can it be really bad sometimes? It's because I am physically, emotionally, and mentally unavailable most times in the present moment. This is what being in my head looks like. I hope you guys don't think I'm just saying this lightly, but when this is your default wiring, you miss out on a lot of moments that are happening in the present. It's so hard to pull yourself away from this deeply rooted process in your mind and just be here in the very present moment. I know that's why people do meditation and things like that, but for some people, it is extremely, extremely difficult. So let's talk about the physical exhaustion, even though I really didn't do that much physical work. I think brains are a lot like computers in a way, and generating all this mental energy on multiple tracks of futuristic goals and their processes can a lot of times take a lot of mental processing power. Things do need to get done in reality, so that does take a physical element. But I find that the mental processing power sometimes takes up so much energy, it almost feels as though it drains it from the rest of my body. I'll expend physical energy, but I will feel as though I had expended 10 times that amount of energy from just the time that I was doing things up there. Do I want to go eat dinner with you? No, sorry, I can't. Do I want to have a 10-minute pleasant conversation with you? I may want to, but the amount of physical energy it actually takes to do that is sometimes so overwhelming that I can't do it either. Or I feel like I can't do it in the moment. I always try to put my best foot forward and garner up the energy if it's possible, but sometimes it just doesn't feel possible at all. Speaking of, let's talk about emotional exhaustion, even though I've been alone for most of the day. Again, I think this comes down to processing power. When you've been running on all mental cylinders all day, going in a logical and rational framework, sometimes it seems as though you have to power down and reboot in order to access your genuine emotions and even kind of know what they are. You're so one-track minded in these certain patterns that you're following and watching, and you're very aware of them and where they're going. It's like the side of emotions sometimes doesn't play into that long singular goal, and so you have to totally pull yourself away in order to be like, oh, I feel this way about this thing. It's the two just aren't as related. Often my emotions on a regular basis are very, very simple. I am happy, I am sad, I am overwhelmed. But sometimes accessing just those simple emotions can be really hard to do. And if someone tries to pull them out of you, sometimes it can be even harder. That's what we call a forced reboot. That was a really bad joke. And third, mental exhaustion. Where are we right now? Do you ever have that feeling when you've been driving a car and you arrive at a destination and you have no idea how you got there? There was maybe magical creatures who were driving your car or something, but you don't really remember driving it, but you know that you arrived safe and sound. I often feel exactly like that in other areas outside of what my mind is currently being tracked for. So if I'm focused on a certain thing in a certain process, then the things around me in like the physical world, I'm sometimes so completely unaware of, it is borderline dangerous. I have done some incredibly stupid things in the real world because my mind has been so removed and so elsewhere. Ask my husband about the time that I stuck my finger in the blender and turned it on while I was making Thanksgiving dinner. It's a great story. So when your brain works this way, by its very nature, it is very hard to, as I say, stop and smell the roses. Having a brain that works this way is wonderfully amazing. I'm grateful for it, but it is also sometimes completely overwhelming, and it is also many times so rationally irrational. I should be able to just do a simple thing that's outside of my process pretty easily for 10 minutes if I need to. And I can, but sometimes the amount of torment that it causes me is so... it's a lot. Okay, so how did I start to achieve some balance in this area? Hopefully at this point you guys can see that this, if you live this way for the majority of your life, it can cause a lot of imbalance And on one hand, people may see like, wow, like you have accomplished these things. They turn out really well. This is great. And on the other side, you're like, yeah, but that really simple, beautiful thing that I should have taken advantage of or seen that was happening right in front of me, I totally missed it because I was so mentally removed from the situation. So the first thing I had to start doing is I had to start planning my planning. I had to just tell my brain to stop if it was jumping too far ahead of a goal that I didn't need to start working on that early. I actually started setting start dates in my calendar to say, this is when you're allowed to kind of go into your savior mindset and do the things that you do, but you're not allowed to start it before then. Because I knew if I had too many things started too early, that I would continue to miss out on daily life. Being so constantly unavailable was painful to others, and it was painful to me because while I was achieving like this orchestrated reality down the road that was just great, I was missing everything on the way there. And sometimes the goals and the projects that I work on, in reality, it's like they're not really that important. In some ways, I'm more just in love with the process of getting there and turning it into this beautiful thing that I envisioned. And I mean, a lot of times they mean things, but sometimes they really don't. And then, you really have to process what is really important to you. What do you really value? Do you value, your orchestration of this thing, or do you value time with, your friends and family and people who mean things to you? And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. 2, I had to plan for open space. This was time I started to schedule to not think about anything. And at first, guys, it felt like physical detox from like an addictive substance because I so badly wanted to work on a project. I wanted to be, planning this next thing because then I can get a little bit ahead and then maybe I could do this other thing. No. I had to completely schedule a time to let my mind rest and not mentally work on any projects or any things I had coming up in the future. So number 2, plan time to do absolutely nothing. Even a few hours makes a huge difference. And when I would come back to my ideas, I would have such a new kind of refreshed perspective towards them because I actually gave myself time to mentally rest. And number 3, the one that I hated the most, is I had to sacrifice a small sliver of perfection. Now, I don't believe perfection actually exists. I just believe that it's kind of constructed by our own minds. But I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, right? And so by scaling back some of my time, obviously there's going to be a trade-off. And on average, it would be about like 2% less than I had originally hoped it would be. Or it was just not quite as refined as I knew it could have been if I had just spent a little bit more time. But do you know what I realized? Is that I was the only one who realized that small difference. And on the scope of it, everything seemed the same to everyone else. So it was a trade-off that I was willing to make, even though it was really uncomfortable in the beginning. I encourage you to put some of these methods into practice in order to be a little bit more present, or to allow yourself the space to be more present if you're able to do so. Life is over really quickly, so let's not miss it. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope that it was inspiration in some way, and leave me your comments below. I like to talk to you guys, and I write for a blog called I Think I Feel. The topic written on this subject by me is linked down below, and I hope you have an awesome week. Let's stay in touch. All right, bye.